It is February 26, 2021, lesson 118, review for 105. God's peace and joy are mine. Today I will accept God's peace and joy in glad exchange for all the substitutes that I have made for happiness and peace. 106, let me be still and listen to the truth. Let my own feeble voice be still, and let me hear the mighty voice for truth itself assure me that I am God's perfect son. So I didn't have anything specifically that I wanted to say, so I'm just gonna allow myself to be connected to myself and allow myself to explain this the best I can. For my interpretation, basically, we're trying to run underwater instead of actually going with the flow and learning a new skill to swim and allow ourselves to go with the currents of life. Because when we know that the end goal is inevitable, that our peace and joy are something that is in our inherent rights, then we can see the moments that we have given up this beautiful gift of peace and joy. Anytime that we have tried to fend for ourselves, trying to, one-up people, trying to persuade people, we are basically compromising our own self for a minute gain, right? The minutia of the importance of this is incomparable to what peace and joy are. Because when we have that ability to look at the bigger picture, we're starting to see what this skill is allowing us to actually attain. When we are looking at ourselves and we're looking at truth, truth is always going to be what it's going to be. So when we take that moment to become aware of our own shadow, we're also doing the same thing for others. Not just because we are pointing it out for others, but because they're also seeing it for themselves. Because as we're learning to regulate ourselves and regulate the emotions of others, then they're becoming aware of themselves and aware of their emotions. Because that's where it starts, okay? Because basically what they have done is taken a role within your movie, and they're not actual conscious actors, right? They're just, background actors. And because they feel like their role is not important in life, it makes it very difficult for them to actually take action and become alive, okay? Because sometimes through action allows us to actually become present, and that allows others to feel our presence. When you see individuals that are fully aware and conscious of themselves, they're basically emanating and commanding presence from others, right? So it wakes people up. They're like, wow, this guy definitely knows who he is. He definitely knows that he can create such an effect within his environment, and now I am part of that, okay? So when people are feeling that they're a part of something bigger, they become awake. They become aware of their role within the whole scheme of things. So sometimes that is done by us. We must also become aware of our own role by accepting our own peace. Now, whether it's the small, enjoyment of something, it says so much, because even the little things allow us to practice the bigger things. When we let go of the smaller things, it allows us to learn how to let go of the bigger things. So when we're having these releases within ourselves, we're starting to understand what is the ability to find peace and joy in every single moment. Because without that ability, we're always going to suffer, right? We're always going to feel like we're separated from people. We're always going to feel like we're the victims. We're always going to feel these grievances that are real or perceived. So when we feel that importance of life from others, basically what you're trying to say is that their life is important, right? So you see these individuals sometimes that their lives are just, chaotic, and that happens to everybody, right? But just an act of kindness goes so far, because I've had people tip me just because I remember their name, right? And you never know what anybody's going through. sometimes just treating people just like normal people, they'll just like appreciate that so much that the exchange of energy just goes so much farther than what it really means to be in this physical realm, because it's like you see me for who I am, and that goes beyond anything else, right? You see the truth in me, you see God in me, and that is what people have always been trying to seek within themselves, right? You can't give what you do not have. So when you are understanding your role, and that everything is, within the stillness that you have, because as you are still, then you can hear, right? Because if you're in chaos, you're not going to be able to discern what is truth. You're not going to be able to be reassured within your decisions, because your mind is chattering and your heart is trying to orient you in a certain direction. You have to be able to be okay with just deciding, okay? Just deciding to go forward, right? If you are trying to run, you're going against the currents. So you have to learn a new skill, and you have to be able to orient yourself towards an end goal, okay? Once you have an end goal, it allows you to not look back, right? We have to be able to learn to not look back, and that's the old Zen saying, face forward, walk forward, and don't look back, okay? Because if you look back, then you're putting the past and imprinting that and imposing that on the new actions that you have, which, again, are the same thing that we do with other people. So when we have a clean slate and we allow ourselves to be at one with ourselves, we're now looking at life from a different direction, from a different point of view. Sorry. And that allows us to see things more openly and more wholeheartedly. Okay? We're seeing things not from a closed heart, from an open heart, strong, full, okay? And that allows us to take our power, because when we are now giving and not looking back, then all this energy is going forward, okay? That's why when we take a step back and we focus on the small things that don't really matter, we have our deficiency needs, right? We're seeing the lack of things. And it's not about looking at evil to see what good is. It's just focusing on good, because that's all you're going to get. You have to think what you want. And that's why it's very important to always orient yourself with maybe whatever it may be with your subconscious mind, to always think of that which you want, not a pink elephant, not loss, not poverty. You have to be able, and again, because we have created some grooves within our minds, and because 95% of our behaviors are unconscious, 80% of our thoughts aren't ours, we're fighting against the currents, right? So you have to learn these new skills so you can adapt, right? Maybe it means to float, right? Because you need to learn to be buoyant, so you're not heavy all the time. So you have to learn to know what allows you to be happy. So you learn these small things so you can get in a happy flow, and then allows you to actually free up some energy so you can learn from that state. Learning from flow states cut the learning curve in half, which allow you to actually become connected to yourself. That's the only way that this discerning mind that is always trying to, judge things, evaluate things, generalize things, is going to shut up, right? And although it's only 1% that our mind is, actually chattering, it creates so much contrast, so much difficulty for us to actually see what is beyond ourselves, what is that holistic part of ourselves that allows us to be altruistic, to be loving, to be kind, to be strong, okay? Because that 1% is that doubt, okay? That's the difference between knowing something works and believing something works. When you know something works, there is no doubt in your mind. It's 100%, and that allows you to actually make the sound and strong decisions, right? Because now you're still, you're listening to your truth, okay? You're speaking from your being, okay? And you're accepting what is yours. You know that peace and joy are your whatever it may be, inheritance or your right, and you are letting go of all these other things that may get in the way. Okay, these things of such as money, power, respect, like it doesn't matter because God created everything, and there's nothing that you need to actually obtain. You just have to let it unfold the way it's supposed to be, right? If you're a fish within this ocean, then you're allowing life to unfold the way it's supposed to be. Maybe a fish eats you. Maybe you eat another fish. Maybe it's just like this whole conjunction of an ecosystem, and you're trying to see where your place is in all this. And you're starting to see that the ocean is just part of what we all are, right? So if the ocean is our consciousness and we have this oceanic consciousness, then we're starting to see how we're all interconnected with one another.